Schiele and Klimt Dix?
I mean, I think each one of them has a very powerful aesthetic. I wouldn't necessarily
group them together. No, the reason why I was grouping them is just because I was just thinking of, those sort of gaunt kind of Neue Gallery type things. Well, what do you think about
the whole period? The whole period is
influenced by war?
It's it's a pretty modern period. You're talking about the period where you have like Freud. Who made it through the First War, but who are kind of moving, like having a less kind of constant and reliable image of what the universe is. So there's a lot of kind of
existential angst.
It's an angsty period, and it's also a period of a lot of suffering. I mean, I think that the kind of suffering that the returning soldiers, in terms of just being physically but also mentally kind of mutilated, it was like, plus it was the fall of empire, so there was just a lot going on. And I think all of that shows.
And it was also the fall of like the concept of empire as like this heroic thing, as opposed to like this mercantile kind of.
Yeah, I think it just there's just
imperial capitalist kind of.
So there's just a lot of fodder there for the artist. The artist is a commentator in a mirror, and so all of that becomes incredibly, like, there's just a lot to mine there.
Yeah.
But as an aesthetic matter, I don't usually, when I respond to an artist, it's more of an aesthetic matter. I mean, it's more the
What do you
form.
find aesthetically appealing?
I mean, I think he's more of a decorative artist. The others are more like really angsty. He's more decorative. Like, he does a lot with gold leaf and surface and pattern, and so there's a much more kind of ornamental.
Yeah, he inspired Schiele. With the gold woman painting. It's like that. You know what I'm talking about.
I think they have a lot in common. Yeah. I don't know if they were one who was the earlier artist.
Yeah, actually, maybe I'm wrong with the direction of the inspiration, but they definitely drew one influence the other. Yeah.
But I think
because I know there's that one painting of the woman in the gold dress that they have that's almost completely parallel. Except Schiele's is much more kind of gaunt and skeletal.
And I think that they're both dealing with flat surface, but I feel like Klimt is much more positive. Like, it's less of a, the portraitism, is much like Schiele was really unhappy.
Schiele was the guy who did that.
I think he killed himself, right?
Yeah, I think so. Schiele was also the guy who did that, he had a really messed up life. Yeah. Schiele was also the guy who did that, round doctor with the round thing, right? Or was that Dix?
That's Dix.
That's Dix, okay.
I think Dix is round, Schiele is scrawny and skinny.
No, but Dix is also kind of does the emaciated corpse thing, with some of those war paintings.
But I think of Klimt. I mean, Klimt had commissions like the woman in the gold. He, I think, had a more successful life. And I think of Schiele as having incredible poverty and much more self-loathing. There's with Klimt, there's much more exuberance, there's much more ornamentation, there's a lot about love and sex, and in a more positive sense, not just prostitutes in a ditch or hands chopped off or something. You know what I mean? It's more, it feels like a little more positive and beautiful. It's more about beauty in a true sense than just
critique,
grotesque.
It's sort of societal critique as well. Yeah. That's the appeal of the other society. I guess the underlying messages is what is always what I've thought, and what you.
But I think
I mean, I get it. It's the idea of it's the paintings themselves. For Dick, it literally his paintings kind of have a shell-shocked quality.
Yeah, literally.
When you look at the war paintings and the veteran paintings.
I think Klimt. But all of them are doing something very exciting about this is not mimetic. They're looking at the surface of the object itself. Everything is kind of flattened and kind of you know, you can't forget you're looking at a drawing
Yeah.
versus the idea of like looking through a window into a little diorama. Like
Yeah.
old-fashioned art is more like that. Here, there's more of like a. I mean, with Klimt, it's an incredibly sumptuous, embellished surface, but you still see a surface. And also, he borrows from the Byzantine tradition. Like all that gold leaf is very much of like the way medieval art looks.
Yeah, but that's true. Yeah,
So that's
different
like a whole
context
other
though.
layer.
It's been removed from God. That's for sure. You know what I mean? It's very much.
Yeah, it's very
put in a
secular.
modern context. It's almost like there's this sort of like kind of futuristic kind of style to it. Like, you know how there's that room at the Neue Gallery where there are all those kind of, I guess, like German futurists, like not accoutrements, but it's like handbags and kind of like fasteners, accessories and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like that kind of style, sort of like with the gold and black and the very geometric shape. It's kind of Art Deco-ish, futurist-ish. Yeah. What do you think of? I mean, the thing about Dix and about Schiele is that they both they do not glorify the human form. They pretty much do the opposite. You know, do you think that there was like a switch at some point, kind of, I guess, from trying to glorify the human form towards like, I guess, whatever we have now? Because
I think there's always been a tension between idealization and realism. Not always,
not
but I
always,
think there's
because there were three phases in like even Greek times with Greek sculpture. You know?
Yeah, but I think that there's a tension throughout the entire history of art.
Ready? Can you just swipe for me, please?
Yeah.
Oh, my hand's full. Here, I'll take that.
Should we just stand?
Sure.
How do you want to do it? Maybe stand up for you.
I guess we can just go here. This is fine. Yeah, you can sit. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So you were saying?
So try not to. My flowers are going to get bashed.
Okay.
So
I will
really
try to
careful.
prevent the flowers from getting bashed.
I think that you see an oscillation between a very abstracted and very realistic strategies. Like the Byzantine period has a very kind of simplified abstracted, or the early Egyptian or early Greek, very simplified abstracted, and then you have another impulse that's very mimetic and very realistic, and you can see, in both of those strategies from early all the way to late, all the way to recent.
But I'd say I was just thinking basically that one kind of won out over the other in, I guess, this modern age. And I mean, I think that you were getting at something there when you talked about how, like, I guess war was part of it, or like World War was part of it, because it sort of like shattered certain illusions of and other things, like you were talking about ideological things, like you mentioned Freud and other things. And there was also sort of like a death of God, you know what I mean?
But I think there's two ways to plot two different XY axes we could delineate, and one would be realist versus abstract, and a different thing would be glorifying versus realist in that sense, like idealized versus individualized. That's one axis. And then I guess a different thing is like positive or negative, which is like, what is this saying about the bigger culture? Is this, seeing the glass half empty in some cosmic sense, I suppose, which might or might not be part of an abstract figure.
What do you think? Yeah, sorry, no, go ahead.
I don't know. I can think of some. I'm thinking of a particular image that around the time of the fall of the Roman Empire, where the people are shown in a pretty desperate way, even though it's
Do you
very.
remember, like, what, 6 years old or 5 or something?
Yeah, that.
Why
it
do you
changed
like
your life,
yeah,
right?
well, to a degree, yeah. I mean, it was really interesting to me because I was very interested in like geometric shapes and whatnot.
Right.
But what do you like about Mondrian and minimalism? Because I can see the appeal of Mondrian, but I can't really see the appeal of minimalism. But
Well, that particular piece is meant to have an auditory communication. So it's supposed to be almost like jazz,
yes, like it's alive with
popping
music.
and whatever.
Yeah, I see it.
So something like that you can't achieve through mimesis. Like you can do a really realistic portrait, but when you have an ambition like that, like you could only get there through abstraction. So it's a different objective. You know, you can't even compare it. It's just like it's trying to do something else.
What do you think of minimalism? Because I get Dadaism, and I really have always liked surrealism, but I never really understood, because there's like that sort of like semi-narrative quality to surrealism.
Exactly.
And I like romanticism and also like traditional religious art, because like I said, there's the narrative. But what I never really got is like minimalism. Like what do you see in minimalism?
Well, that makes sense to me because I think that you're such a narrative. You have such a narrative imagination that it would make sense to me that that it would make sense to me that you're
Do you have the other bag?
yeah, it's under me.
What were you saying?
Hold on, I just realized I never warned Charlotte. Maybe I should.